If you're listening to this, then you've made a breakthrough. Excellent job. At this stage, you have a proto-Tulpa, and you have set up a way to communicate with them in some manner. You are now on the final stretch to a fully sentient Tulpa, and you can rest assured that this section will feel more natural and straightforward than the others. In this section, you will develop your Tulpa's consciousness and selfhood by interacting with them consistently, devoting your attention to them, and helping them form their sense of identity. In simple terms, you will talk to your Tulpa, encourage more complicated responses, and help them figure out who they are. Like finding a proto-Tulpa or building a wonderland, there's no correct way to do this that I can prescribe for everyone. The ways in which Tulpamancers will interact with their Tulpas at the early stages will vary. That's just the nature of Tulpamancy. It's a very personal thing, and I believe it should stem from the Tulpamancer's own sense of what's right. In fact, if you feel truly emboldened and assured in your own methods, then you don't even really need to use this section. You are free to continue on your own and reference this guide or other guides as you need them. For those who would like a bit of guidance through the early development of a Tulpa, this section will provide general advice and suggestions for exercises to help development. The first thing to keep in mind when developing a young Tulpa is the regularity and consistency of interaction. This is why I emphasized creating a routine early on. In your sessions, you should now shift focus on interacting and communicating with your Tulpa. If possible, you should be interacting with your Tulpa on a daily basis. If you can't do it at a certain time every day, you should try to find gaps or moments when you can spend time with them whenever you're able. In short, try to give them a lot of time and attention without cutting into anything important. Don't skip out on work, school, or social engagements for your Tulpa, but try to structure your days so that you can make time for them. For the sessions where you have plenty of time, you should focus on interacting with your Tulpa while immersed in the Wonderland. However, sometimes this isn't feasible, especially in a public area, or when you only have a short break between activities. In cases like this, I would strongly recommend interacting with your Tulpa while maintaining a greater distance from your mental world. In short, this involves talking with them and observing their responses without fully immersing into the Wonderland. This is commonly called passive forcing in the Tulpamancer community, and you can see it recommended in countless places. Think of it like having a small window into your Wonderland that you can open up whenever you want to tell your Tulpa something or just check up on them. You can just visualize a small section of the Wonderland and see where your Tulpa is. You can also send them thoughts, feelings, or mental vocalizations without having to visualize at all. Your Tulpa can also do the same back, seeing what's going on in your physical life, and responding with their own thoughts, emotions, and mind voice. It may take a while to get the hang of, but small, simple interactions throughout your day can be a huge boost to a Tulpa's development. This helps to solidify a connection to your Tulpa, and remembering to interact with your Tulpa frequently demonstrates that you care about them, and that you're willing to devote attention to them. Moreover, it helps you integrate your Tulpa into your life as an integral piece of it, rather than something just happening on the side. Sharing your opinions on daily events like food, social interactions, work, or school will help your Tulpa learn about your life and the world around you, and it will spur your Tulpa into making responses and forming their own opinions. Checking up on them frequently helps your mind adapt to normalizing Tulpa interaction on a daily basis. Essentially, it helps incorporate the sort of thinking you do in your Wonderland sessions into your daily cognition by building subconscious habits. If you keep working at it, your Tulpa may even surprise you by making a comment completely out of the blue. Even if it's just a quick comment or question, interacting throughout your day goes a long way to developing a Tulpa's independence and sentience, so it's good to make it a habit early on. Some Tulpamancers even use tricks to get them to remember to interact, such as setting alarms on their phones or carrying around an object that reminds them of their Tulpa. Techniques like this are discussed further in the exercises for this section. Since your Tulpa is just starting to form, keep in mind that your interactions with them will be mostly one-sided. You will give them a lot more communication than they give back, and this is to be expected. Newly forming tulpas will usually only respond in a simple and blunt manner, with one-word replies, simple gestures, or emotional responses. Over time, they will develop more complex responses on their own, but you can help this along with certain techniques. For instance, you can try to ask your tulpa open-ended questions. Asking a question like, "What do you think about this?" or "Which one do you prefer?" means that they can't respond with a simple yes or no. This helps them think on their own. Another idea is to have them make arbitrary decisions for you as you go about your daily life. For example, you could ask them things like, "What flavor of oatmeal should I eat today?" or "Which one of these videos should I watch?" This helps them form opinions of their own, and it's quite enjoyable to hear your tulpa respond with a surprising answer. Aside from talking to your tulpa and sharing your life with them, you will also want to focus on their life within the mental world and their developing identity. If your tulpa does not have a visual form, you should ask them if they'd like to choose one and encourage them a bit to do so. The same goes for if they do not have a mind voice. You should ask them what they'd like to sound like and try to help them find it. Having a well-defined form and voice imbues a tulpa with a strong sense of selfhood. A visual form lets a tulpa have a sense of, "This is what I look like," and a voice lets them have a sense of, "This is what I sound like." Helping them to develop this allows them to strengthen their sense of identity. To help a tulpa choose a form or voice, it can be as simple as asking them what they want to sound like or look like. Sometimes a tulpa will just pop into a form immediately, or start speaking with a unique voice. However, it's common for a tulpa to feel a bit indecisive or unsure of what they want. To get around this, try asking them questions about it to get an idea of what they like. Alternatively, you can just look up suggestions on the internet and ask your tulpa if they like them. This is easy to do, even if you have a rudimentary system of communication with them. You can show your tulpa a potential form and get them to respond with a simple yes or no. Alternatively, you could listen for positive feelings or negative feelings coming from them as an emotional response. The same can also be done with the tulpa's voice, by looking up clips of voice actors or singers and getting your tulpa's opinion on them. Once a tulpa decides on a form or voice, you can help them adapt to it by visualizing it or oralizing it for them. Included in this section are exercises to assist with solidifying visualization and oralization of a tulpa's form and voice, and I recommend trying them when helping to develop your tulpa's sense of selfhood. Of course, if your tulpa has trouble deciding on these parts of their identity, you must practice patience. Encourage your tulpa to choose a form and voice that feels right to them, but don't try and force them to make a decision. This process can take a while, so just remember that you can always come back to it later. To foster an independent tulpa with a strong sense of selfhood, you should let them have the final say over their form. You should also be careful with making suggestions, as you don't want to just convince them to choose a form that you want to see them in. It's important to have them decide for the sake of making it their own identity. That being said, it's not even that important to get the form and voice right on the first go. This is just a starting point. As a tulpa develops, it's very common for them to change their form and voice to something new. When a tulpa changes its form, it is typically referred to as a deviation, and it's a sign that the tulpa is further developing their own sense of self. Think of it as getting a makeover, or buying a new wardrobe. Tulpas change form for a variety of reasons, but it's usually because they feel that the new form fits their personality better, or that it better suits the role they want to play in your shared existence. A tulpa that changes into a new form might just say that it just feels like them. Some tulpas never change, but the ones that do typically have a good reason for it. Regardless of their reasons, you should respect your tulpa's choice of form and accept them for who they choose to be. This leads into my next point, which is the tulpa's sense of separateness. At first, most prototulpas are usually somewhat similar to their hosts, and over time they become more distinct and separate. At first, a tulpa only has the same shared pool of knowledge and experiences that the host does to draw from. They will most likely have similar tastes, opinions, and perspectives on the world as a result. As a Tulpa develops, and their sense of identity gets stronger, their perspectives on things will start to differ from their hosts. This is a natural process, as they are expected to become their own person. In a way, having a Tulpa is the opposite of meeting a new person. Instead of getting to know them, you get to unknow them. You get to see them grow their own unique perspective on the world, which can be as complex and multifaceted as your own. Not only this, but they will develop their own perspectives on the shared pool of knowledge and experiences in your mind, and put things together in ways you never would have thought of before. Now, I understand that this can be the cause for some anxiety among some Tulpamancers. They might think that their Tulpa could possibly grow to dislike them, or that they themselves may dislike the person that their Tulpa becomes. They don't think that this would happen on purpose, of course. It would be just a fact that two people can grow to dislike each other, regardless of whether they share a brain or not. It's not outside the realm of possibility for some sort of animosity to develop from the diverging perspectives of the Tulpa and host. As much as I would like to say otherwise, this is in fact possible. However, it doesn't mean that it's likely to happen, or even that it's a bad sign if it does happen. Yes, it is possible for a Tulpa to find certain aspects of their host disagreeable, but that doesn't mean that the Tulpa hates or despises the host. Just because you dislike one aspect of a person doesn't mean you hate them as a whole. In fact, many long-lasting relationships have moments where partners will nag each other about persistent issues. These issues might cause some agitation, but they don't cause the end of the relationship. Instead, the couple will work through their gripes in a rational manner through communication. This is the same for Tulpa and host relationships as well. If you feel like there's a conflict brewing, you should always remember to just try talking about it in a rational and calm manner before you do anything else. Eventually, you and your Tulpa will come to an understanding, and come out the other side with a stronger bond than you had going in. Yet, if the potential for disagreements and conflict with your Tulpa seems distressing, try thinking about it like so. If you always got along and agreed on everything 100% of the time, would your Tulpa truly be a separate person? The mere fact that you can have an argument with a Tulpa stands as a testament to their true nature of being a separate, sentient consciousness. It is something to cherish as a marker of success, not to fear out of misguided anxiety. Additionally, you and your Tulpa will have a leg up on other forms of relationships between two physical people because you can communicate on a completely different level. You can both feel what the other person is feeling and understand the true intentions behind the words as they speak them. This level of close, intimate communication means that your Tulpa has a better chance of coming to an understanding with you than any other person in your life. Even your closest friends and family members don't have this advantage. Now that you have a better understanding of what to expect for the development of a young Tulpa, I will now provide some exercises to help. These exercises should be considered loose suggestions more than anything else. Unlike the previous exercises presented in this guide, you don't have a defined goal to meet, and you don't have to practice any of them if you don't feel they're necessary. It all comes down to what you and your Tulpa want to accomplish, and so the exercises should be practiced at your own discretion. I outlined 3 sets of exercises around the 3 main aspects of development for a Tulpa: Sentience, Selfhood, and Separateness. The aspect of Sentience focuses on helping Tulpas develop awareness and complexity of responses. These exercises are mostly passive and are good to incorporate into a daily routine if you feel they suit you. The aspect of Selfhood is all about helping a Tulpa develop a strong sense of identity by developing their form and voice. These exercises deal with honing a form or voice for a Tulpa after they've decided on one, and are good to incorporate into a fully immersive session. The aspect of Separateness focuses on helping your Tulpa develop the ability to think differently and perceive the world differently. These exercises are usually catered towards the Tulpa that is further developed and has a good sense of self. Please feel free to look over the exercises, consider which ones you might look into practicing, or which ones you'll skip. It doesn't really matter which ones you'll pick, even if you decide you don't like any of them. As long as you continue to make time for immersive interaction and small interactions throughout your day, your Tulpa will develop, and your bond with them will grow. Last but not least, take some time to enjoy yourself as well. Not every session has to be about developing an aspect or working on something. When you have a chance to have a nice moment with your Tulpa where you can enjoy something together, I encourage you to seize the opportunity and do it. You should enjoy the newfound delights of experiencing the world with another conscious entity in your brain. This is a part of what makes Tulpamancy so great. Now, go. Go and dive into the world within yourself and speak to the one who is forming and coming into their own. They are waiting for you there. Go and be with them. And good luck. Exercises for Sentience. Exercise 1. The Reminder Totem. Find an object that would remind you of your Tulpa when you touched it or looked at it. An example would be a ring, an amulet, a bracelet, a keychain, a button, or a pin. Any object that can be carried or worn will work. Start carrying this object around with you as you go about your day. Have it on your person whenever you can. Then, whenever you notice the object, check in with your Tulpa. Talk to them mentally and have a short conversation if you can. Make a habit of doing this every time, even if it's just sending them a quick hello. Exercise 2. Take in a film. Set aside some time to watch a movie, either at a movie theater or a streaming platform like Netflix. Ask your Tulpa to decide what movie to watch. If there are a lot of choices, you might want to suggest a few that they might like. Once they make their decision, start watching the movie while keeping your Tulpa in mind. Talk to your Tulpa about the movie as you're watching, and comment about what's going on. Make sure to listen for their responses so it's not a one-sided affair. Exercise 3. The Long Haul. Plan a trip that involves a long ride in a vehicle. For example, a train ride or a car ride. While you are traveling, try to visualize your Tulpa either in your head or close by you for as much of the trip as you can. Talk to them either out loud or through a mind voice. Comment on things you see and hear and ask them questions. Try to maintain the interaction for long periods of time, even if it's just sitting while you both watch the scenery go by. Exercise 4. Share some food. Go on a shopping trip to a grocery store or convenience store. Pick out an item on your list that you want to buy and isn't of much importance. Once there, have your Tulpa decide on the type or flavor of the item. For example, if you are shopping for soda or tea, have your Tulpa pick out the flavor that you will get. If you want to pick up candy, let them decide what kind. Give them some time to think about it and formulate their response. Try not to rush them, especially if they are still developing complicated responses. Once they make their decision, purchase the item. Afterwards, when you return home, make sure they are present while you eat the food item so that they can share in the experience. Exercise 5. Ask for a second opinion. As you go about your day, pay attention to your surroundings for new things or novel changes. When you notice something that catches your interest, ask your Tulpa to take a look as well and give their opinion. Listen carefully for your Tulpa's response and gently try to encourage them to form their own opinion. For example, if you notice that a new store opened up, ask your Tulpa if they think it looks interesting. If you see someone wearing extravagant clothing, ask your Tulpa what they think of their style. Try to find a follow-up question to their response. Ask them why, or to elaborate in further detail. Exercises for Selfhood. Exercise 1. The Ring of Light. After your Tulpa has picked out a form they like, You can help strengthen the clarity of it by using this visualization technique. First, get into a meditative state, like you did for your visualization training. Immerse yourself into a wonderland that is like a dark void, where there is just empty, black space. Then, tell your Tulpa that you are going to visualize their form, and ask them to stay as still as possible. Put your Tulpa in the void, and have them stay in a natural standing pose. Next, visualize a ring of light encircling their body. Have it illuminate only a small band on their form, and nothing else. Slowly move the ring of light up and down their form, like a scanner or photocopier. Focus only on the illuminated portion of their form, and try to pick out as much detail as you can. As you get more comfortable with this process, gradually move the ring of light faster and faster until it's so fast that you can nearly see their entire form at once. Exercise 2. Study the walk cycle. After your Tulpa has picked out a form that they like, spend a bit of time thinking about how it would move from place to place. Look up an animated walk cycle that's similar to how your Tulpa's form would walk. For example, a human walk cycle if they're humanoid. If your Tulpa's form moves using wings or some other form of locomotion, try finding an animated example that matches it. Please note that I'll still refer to it as a walk cycle in this exercise. Next, spend a good deal of time studying the walk cycle. Try to pin down the rhythm of the walk, the beat of the limbs, what order they fall in, and the general flow of the body as it moves along. Keep studying until the walk cycle seems second nature and that it can be visualized naturally. Now, have your Tulpa try walking around in a wonderland as you watch them. Keep in mind that they will need some time to adapt, so be patient with them. If you both have some trouble, try visualizing single frames of the walk cycle at a time, and then add more in-between frames gradually. Exercise 3. Scent Association. Visit a store that sells scented candles or incense. While you're there, smell some of them and ask your Tulpa what they think of the scents. If you find a fragrance that you both enjoy, ask your Tulpa if they would like to have this scent associated with them. In other words, have them pick out a scent that they will smell like. Once you have purchased the scent, bring it back home and put it in the spot where you usually meditate. The next time you immerse into the wonderland, light the candle or incense before you do so. As you notice the scent while you're interacting with your Tulpa, remind yourself that this is what they're supposed to smell like. Repeat this process of using scents while you interact with your Tulpa. Over time, you will associate the smell with them naturally. Eventually, it is possible to smell your Tulpa even when there is no physical source for the scent. Exercise 4. Voice Oralization. Once your Tulpa has started speaking in a mind voice, you can help strengthen the clarity of it by using this oralization technique. First, spend some time thinking about your Tulpa's voice and trying to find recordings that match it. Try looking up voice actors, singers, podcast producers, or any other examples of a voice that seems similar. Once found, ask your Tulpa if they think that particular voice matches them. If they approve, start studying the recordings of the voice. Try to analyze the accent, lilt, and general tone of the vocalizations. Then, get into a meditative state, like you did for your oralization training. Invite your Tulpa to join you in a wonderland, or simply just visualize their form. Next, tell them that you will be oralizing their voice for them, and afterwards, they can do the same. Start by oralizing a few sentences or phrases in the chosen voice. While you do this, you can have your Tulpa mouth the words along with the sounds. Then, switch it up by having your Tulpa try out the voice. While you are letting them speak, try to maintain a meditative, focused state of mind to avoid accidentally speaking it for them. Repeat this process until the voice is clear and well defined. Exercise 5. Ping pong vocalization. This is another exercise for strengthening a Tulpa's voice after they have started speaking in a mind voice. First, get into a meditative state and immerse into a wonderland of your choice. Invite your Tulpa to join you and sit together somewhere comfortable. Explain that you want to play a game where one person says something and the other has to respond. This game can take different forms, so choose whichever one you prefer. First option, you say a word and your Tulpa repeats it in the same way, but with her own voice. Second option, word association. You say a word and your Tulpa says the first thing that comes into their mind. Third option, one-word story. You start with a word and your Tulpa says the next word in the sentence. This repeats as you create a story together, one word at a time. Make sure to be patient and encouraging with your Tulpa as they respond. Listen carefully for their responses and try not to go too quickly for them. Exercises for separateness. Exercise 1. Have them surprise you. Ask your Tulpa to try and surprise or startle you in some manner. This doesn't have to be immediately after you ask. Just tell them to try and surprise you at some point. How your Tulpa does this should be entirely up to them. Give them some feedback on how well they did afterwards. Exercise 2. Proxying. The act of proxying for a Tulpa is to be the middleman for a Tulpa in an online conversation. Your Tulpa will dictate what they want to say, and then you in turn will type it out, allowing your Tulpa to participate in a discussion over the internet. Many Tulpamancers use proxying to allow their Tulpas to talk to other Tulpamancers or Tulpas within the community. If they wish, a Tulpa can also talk to random people over the internet as well, by masquerading as a normal human. There are many places in the Tulpamancy community that encourage proxying, so feel free to search out forums, IRC channels, or Discord servers that allow Tulpas to communicate. While you are proxying, try not to censor or impede your Tulpa's language. Encourage them to express themselves freely, as long as it will not get the host in any serious trouble. Exercise 3. Memory diving. The first step of this exercise is to open up your mind and all of your memories to your Tulpa. Encourage your Tulpa to look at your memories and explore them at their leisure. To put it another way, think of your mind as a huge library filled to the brim with books, and within every book, there's a memory that can be read. Let your Tulpa roam freely and check out any book they like. Once your Tulpa gets accustomed to this, try visiting a memory together with them. If you like, you can even immerse yourself into the memory like you would a Wonderland, and relive the events from a different perspective. While doing this, talk to your Tulpa about what happened and try to get their take on it. See if their interpretation of what happened differs from your own. Exercise 4. Have a debate. While you are conversing with your Tulpa, bring up a topic that you are fairly knowledgeable on. It can be anything, from sports to video games to politics. Start talking to your Tulpa about the topic until you find something you might disagree on. Then, simply have a friendly debate advocating for one point of view while your Tulpa advocates for the other. If you wish, you can also choose to play devil's advocate, or your Tulpa can do the same. Just remember to keep things civil and rational. Try not to resort to name-calling or spiteful comments. Exercise 5. Information hiding games. Ask your Tulpa if they want to play a game like I Spy or 20 Questions. For example, if they want to play I Spy, then one person will think of an object in your immediate surroundings and the other person will try to guess what it is. If they want to play 20 questions, then one person should think of a person, place, or thing, while the other person asks yes or no questions until they guess it. While playing, your Tulpa should do their best to keep the information hidden from you, and you should do the same. Sometimes it helps to use symbolism to accomplish this. For instance, you could visualize a box, and then keep the idea of what you're thinking about inside the box, and keep it away from the other person. Besides that, just play the games like two people normally would, and switch out who hides the information and who guesses it.